little brothers, little sisters, our kids, they're all kind of migrating out. It takes a minute or two to get them out of here. So let me just say, let me just say this. I have got something, and I don't like holding things in. So you're like, well, you could take medicine for that. I don't like holding things in because I get so excited about it. I want to let you know. But I am going to have to dial it back because I'm going to let you know next Sunday. We have some big services coming up that we're going to have such a wonderful time in. We want you to be a part of. So we're going to make those announcements next week. And I want you to make sure you're here. Make sure you know what's going on. Make sure you don't miss out on anything. And let me just say to you, we're trying to get you updated on a weekly basis on what's going on at the new facility. For those of you that don't know, we did sell this building to the city, and we bought another church, and we're completely remodeling it, and we are going to build a new sanctuary added to it. So it is on the other side of town, on the west side. So right now we have Christpoint East, Christpoint West, and Christpoint Smithville. But this building, we only have 4.5 months, a little less than that, left here. We will get that building remodeled. We'll get into it, and then hopefully we'll be able to start construction of the sanctuary quickly. So anyway, it's behind Huddle House, in case you don't know. It's a dead-end street there behind Huddle House, right off 111. It's called Mahan Road, spelled real funny, Maughon. So just know that it is the only real facility on Mahan Road other than storage buildings. So anyway, we want you to swing by there and look at it. We'll get you updated. Every week we're updating you on our YouTube channels and our social media accounts as to what's going on. I enjoy it because I just want to say this much. I want you to know what's going on, but if I say something, you can't really take to heart everything. We're not really going to stick your kids on the walls with Velcro. I mean, it's just, I may say that, but it's fun to say it on TV. So anyway, just know that we're not going to. It's just a way to get you to come to see if we are. So anyway, hey, I just got to say, this weekend we have 14, 15-year-old granddaughters, and can we go to the movies? We used to do this. And it's like, sure, I can't wait. What are we going to see? What can we go see? Avatar. I don't know if you've ever watched Avatar, but you can watch it in 3D. I'm like, can we just watch it normal? Well, it's not available. Does it come on in 2D until 10 o'clock at night? I'm not doing that. So give me the 3D. And so there was 4 of us. Do you remember the good old days when you could go to the movies for $50? I'm like, it's how much for 4 of us to see a movie? How much you charge me just to let me stand out in the hall and listen to it? I just want to listen to it from out here. You don't even have to. I won't bother anybody. But seriously, I got to sell some plasma or something to keep doing this. So I just want you to know that Avatar, there are blue people in there. I don't know if you know that or not. This is what I noticed, and I have watched them. I watched number 1, watched number 2, watched number 3, and this is what I have gained from that. In number 1, it's world annihilation, and blue people on blue and orange dragons rescue the world. In number 2, it's world annihilation, and blue people on blue and orange dragons save the world. In the third one, I'm going to tell you what happens. It's world annihilation, and blue people on dragons save the world again. So, but here's the thing, is I noticed that there are blue people with tails and they also have a regular young man that doesn't have a tail, and the people with tails call him a monkey boy. I'm trying to figure that one out. I'm like, you're the one with a tail. He don't have a tail. But anyway, so it was pretty interesting. I liked it. It was good. So I would watch it again. So let me just say this. Yesterday, my granddaughter had a basketball game, so we went to the basketball game. I see some other people coming in afterwards, and I'm like, pretty cool. They must, be having. So I realized that, like, like 100 of our kids are playing next here at the church. So I'm like, okay, so I see. So is Mason still around? Did Mason stick around? I told him to stick around. I didn't see Mason at the first service. So here's the thing. I see Mason come in. I'm like, Mason, is Mason playing? So yeah, Mason's playing. I see Cherry come in. I'm like, okay, so explain to me who's on the team. So I see Maddox come in. I'm like, okay, so is Maddox on his team? No, Maddox on another team. I'm like, so okay, so who all do we know on these teams? And they're like, well, that kid goes to our church. That kid goes to our church. That kid goes. I'm like, I don't think I know them. Well, it's because you don't know all the kids, Pastor. There's a bunch of them that come here. So anyway, so that was pretty cool. I think that I could go to I think a couple of weeks ago, we had an 8 o'clock game. I'm like, who wants to do this at 8 in the morning? The kids are off on Saturday. They don't want to get up and go to a ball game. So we have an 8 o'clock game. There's nobody in there at 8 o'clock, by the way. 7 o'clock at night, it's packed. So I'm like, I could sit here all day long and probably watch some of our kids at some point play ball. And I would, but you'd have to feed me. So it was pretty cool. So Mason's team, Maddox's team, they played each other. It was pretty interesting. My granddaughter, Kenzie's team, they did a really good job. It was really fun. And I watched, I could be like my uncle. My uncle used to be the guy that watched everybody play everything all the time. And so he's passed away now, and he was a staple in our community, watched all the games, and was always at the games. I could almost do that. So anyway, it was a lot of fun. We were able to all hang out and have a really good time. So anyway, I advise you, if you get a chance to go. Christpoint does have a team that we sponsor, but I think they're more like that big. And maybe they're that big. I don't know. And I'm supposed to get a schedule on that one, so we'll go watch them play as well. So anyway, I had a lot of fun. Good times this weekend. Blue people with tails. Basketball was all great. So as a matter of fact, Mason wore blue shoes. And I thought to myself, will that make you jump higher, run faster? I mean, I'm just asking. Like an avatar, maybe. I don't know. So anyway, so we're in a service, and that service, we're in a sermon series, and it's entitled "The God Who." ... So we're looking at the God Who every week. First of all, we jumped in this sermon series, the God Who Calls. So the first sermon in that series, the God Who Calls. Last week we looked at the God Who Sees. Sometimes we got to realize that. We can't confuse our calling with our assignment. Last week we have to realize that, no matter where we are, how messed up we are, God still sees us. God made a point to see a slave girl who was outcast and was wanting to run away and die. And he made sure to let her know that he saw her in her mess. So your mess is not bigger than her mess, I can promise you. He sees you. So this week we're going to look at the God who builds. So as we look at this, I just want to kind of paint a picture of Jesus. Now, Jesus grew up in a carpenter's home. Now, we got to kind of wrap our minds around the context. Jesus' earthly father was Joseph. Now, Joseph was a builder. He built things with his hands. He was a carpenter. So, if we notice something in Scripture, we notice that Jesus has a lot of connections, connecting themes, connecting points, parables, so to speak, shepherd, lost, found, ground, good ground, bad ground. But we also see him speak a lot about building. And here's the reason why. And I think the reason why we see Jesus speak about building is because, number one, it's something that we can connect with. Number two, it's the world that he grew up in. If you grew up in a world to where your father was a professional golfer, you would have golf analogies for everything. It's like, man, I tell you what, this road's as crooked as the 18th hole at Sawgrass. This is what you would be speaking all the time. So if you are a carpenter, you are, or if you're around builders, you will always recognize builders. If you go to the new site where we're constructing right now, you can walk in and you can tell who is a part of the contractor's crew, and you can tell who's probably there just looking. Because here's what you can always tell what a carpenter looks like. He always has a tape measure. That's how you can identify us. When I get out of my truck, I snap one of the tape measures onto my pocket, because we don't just measure with a tape measure. We use it for everything. See, that's the world that I came out of, by the way. And so, like, say, if you want to point something out, you don't just go over there and point. You take a tape measure out and you point. Okay, can we make that work and that work? You know, and after, you know, if you don't get the good tape measures, you can't do that because they'll just fall. So you got to spend money for the good tape measures. So anyway, you start taping. You say, okay, so that's how actually carpenters talk to each other. It's through the tape measures. And see, you know, I had a guy ask me one time, he said, I got a job, but I have to know how to read a tape. I'm like, okay. He goes, I don't know how. Okay. Meet me at the church. I'm going to walk you through it. This was brain surgery for this guy. When we got finished, I'm like, I'll go get you one that has it written on it. You're going to get it. Everything. Just think of it in eighths. Think of it in 16ths. Think of it in 2s and 4s. Everything I said was confusing. So anyway, so we carpenters talk in terms of fractions. They talk in eighths and 16ths, and Jesus was raised by somebody who spoke like this. More than likely, he talked like this. He was a builder. He probably has given him building analogies along his life. So Jesus, we know this. This is not something we have to establish. Jesus was all God, but he was all man. So Samantha and I were talking out in the foyer a little while ago. She's like, I used to get, we're so real around here. She goes, I used to get so mad at Mary when my son was born, and I don't know what was wrong with him. He was crying all the time. I'd get mad at her and think, she didn't have to go through this because Jesus was perfect. He didn't cry all night long. So if you're a young mother right now, we don't know that Jesus didn't cry all night long. We don't know that. We don't know that everything was perfect. We don't know that. What we do know is he was all man and he was all God. He couldn't relate to us if he wasn't man, and he couldn't save us if he wasn't God. So we do know this. So establish that he is a man. He had to be taught things. In other words, Jesus, you have to learn morals. I have to teach you morals. So was it hard? With Jesus, it's not hard to teach him morals. I have to teach you life lessons. You know, life is like building this table. You know, unless we start from the ground up, we can't start from the top down. It's not going to work. And here's another thing. Jesus probably had to be taught how to interact with people. You know what? It would be easy to isolate him. Everybody wants to kill him. He's a threat to. He's the most important person that's ever walked the face of the earth. And Joseph and Mary are entrusted to raise this guy. Can you imagine the pressure? Some of us want to think we have pressure on us, but think about the pressure on these two guys. I mean, not these two guys, but Mary and Joseph. Think about the pressure on them. If they mess this up, you and I are doomed. We can't mess this up. So Jesus, I can't isolate you. So at 30 years old, when ministry starts, you don't even know how to talk to people. So Jesus had to be, I have to introduce you on how to speak to people, how to interact with people, how to engage people. Because when ministry starts, this is going to be an active part of how it works. So much so that Jesus set up for you and I to spread the gospel like this. Like this. You and I, this is how it's supposed to be set up. So Jesus, you have to know. And when you meet somebody, look them in the eye. See, I mean, we need to teach our young men and young ladies. When you speak to somebody, look them in the eye, especially an adult. And when you shake hands with somebody, you stand up. And you don't shake like this. You shake firm. And you don't hug somebody's neck from a seated position. You get up and hug their neck. You meet them where they are. They're not a servant to you. You're an equal. They're an equal. You're a servant to them. So, you know, I mean, he had to be taught this on a normal. You know, it probably wasn't hard to teach Jesus how to do right. You know what I'm saying? But it's not your job and my job to teach Jesus how to do right. He's already been taught that. So how we teach is usually greatly influenced by how we are taught. So Jesus had this mentality that probably, I'm going to throw out some analogies that you understand, but I'm going to teach you in the way I was taught. You know, somebody asked me, said, we were talking about guitar, playing guitar. And we were talking about certain ways. I said, I play the way I was taught. I was taught to use capos. I was taught to basically take the easy road. We got some of our guys up here that they can knock it out of the park. They'll say, you just barcode that. I'm like, you just show me where to capo it. And then some of you don't know what I'm talking about. But what I'm saying is, I do it the way I was taught. My friend taught me, and I just do it that way. So that's how we teach. We teach the way we were taught. We live the way we were taught. We live the way, and we perceive life the way that we were taught to perceive life. We react in situations the way we watch our parents react in situations. Do you know the greatest influence in our lives is, and if not, should be our parents? That's the greatest influence. Our spiritual mothers and fathers, our earthly mothers and fathers, those that are older than us, those that speak into our lives, those that are younger than us that speak into our lives. These are the people who impact and influence and shape our lives, and they should have a great impact on how we think and perceive. We will operate and flow in situations according to what we've seen. I tell people all the time, your kids, they're going to model marriage after what they see in you. That's what they're going to model marriage after. What they see in you is what they're going to emulate. So, you know what? If I ever see my parents freak out, pitch a fit on every situation instead of resolving a problem, I'm probably going to pitch a fit. So Jesus has this analogy of building as we move forward. He's probably got a builder's mindset, and he asked a question to his disciples. They were in a section or a region that was very they were very poorly identified. In other words, if we don't have an identity in Christ, we don't know who we are, let alone try to tell somebody who they are. So we have an identity crisis right here. So let's just jump into it. Matthew chapter 16, verses 13 and 14. Now when Jesus came to the district of Caesarea Philippi, number one, we have a place that doesn't even know who they are. It's named after Caesar Augustus, but also a little bit as well, Philip the Tetrarch has also done the same thing. So in other words, he doesn't want to leave Caesar out, make him mad, because of ego problems. So they call it Caesarea Philippi. This place doesn't even know who they are. So we have a mixed identity here. So Jesus is in the district of Caesarea Philippi, and he asked his disciples, who do people say the Son of Man is? So let's just kind of think about this. Who do they say? You know, you guys have been around here for a while. You know, I'm always about this spirit of they say. Well, they say she's not going to make it. Yeah, they say Mom ain't going to make it. She's not going to live through this. 10 years later, they say Mama's not going to make it. You know what? I think they say's been thrown out the window. You know, they say that this team will never beat that team tomorrow night. They say this team can't win against this team. They say all this stuff. You know, we're getting ready. We're in NFL playoffs. Some of you guys, I've already watching you wearing your Bears jerseys, wearing your Steelers jerseys. I've been watching you wear. You know, you're representing. I don't blame you. I would too. You know what? I'm probably wearing one any day now. But my team only won 3 games all year long, so I don't think we're in the playoffs. So the thing is we want to represent. But when we look at the situation, we say, they say we can't win. Well, you know what? You've just agreed that you can't win. So you might as well not show up because you're not going to win. So who do they say the Son of Man is? Verse 14. Well, they say that you're John the Baptist. Notice, it's just somebody. They say that you're Elijah, somebody. They say that you're Jeremiah, somebody. They say you're one of the prophets. Now, if they compare me and you to one of these, that's a real great comparison. That's esteeming us very highly, and I appreciate that. If they say, boy, I tell you what, he's a lot like Elijah. I'm going to tell you right now, thank you for the compliment, but I don't live like him. He's a lot like Jeremiah. Thank you for the compliment, but I don't live like him. In other words, I'm not drinking the cup they're drinking from. But if you notice, they compared him to the context that they knew. So when we look at this, the spirit of they say doesn't even have an identity in who they are. They are in the region of Caesarea Philippi. They don't even have a clear understanding of their identification. How are they supposed to identify who Jesus is? So who do they say I am? Somebody. Somebody reincarnated. Somebody risen from the dead. See, everyone has an opinion of Jesus. You've heard me say this before. Everybody wants Jesus. Here's my question. The only one that they ever see may be in you and me. If they're rejecting Jesus, they're not rejecting him. They're just rejecting what they see in you and I. So that's talk about Joseph and Mary having a hard load to carry. You and I need to walk the walk. If we're going to say we're servants of the King, we need to act like we're servants of the King. We need to speak like it. We need to act like it when we're outside these doors. So everyone has an opinion of Jesus. People have a theory of who he is. You know, everybody's got an idea what the superhero's supposed to look like. But when he doesn't wear his cape the way that they want him to, that they don't want to serve him anymore. So here's the thing. Everybody in this context, everybody in this Caesarea Philippi, they say mentality. They have an opinion of who Jesus is, but it's incorrect. You know who does have the correct answer? The ones who know him. See, those of us who know Jesus, well, we know the answer. Well, we know what's truth because we've walked with him. You know, like you've heard me say, Tina and I are into our 40 years. We met over 40 years ago. So she's been chasing after me for 40 years. And here's my theory. If I say that loud enough and long enough and often enough, you're going to believe it is truth. But so we know what each other's thinking. You don't have to ask her what I'm thinking. She'd tell you. She'd tell you right now, he's so ADHD, he's probably not even thinking. So I can tell you what she's thinking. I can tell you by her movements. I can tell you by the way she does her foot, the way she does her jaw, the way she taps. You know, the other day we were somewhere and she starts tapping. She doesn't tap. I'm the tapper. Those of you who've been around me, you know I'm the tapper. They'll be like, please, can you stop tapping? I'm like, I didn't even know I was doing it. But when she starts tapping, it's like something's not right. You know, we were in a restaurant and nobody's coming to wait on us. All of a sudden she starts tapping. I'm like, you're bothered they're not here yet, aren't you? Yeah, well, we've been here a while. Well, you know what? Now your tapping's bothering me. I'm sorry. But we know Jesus. I know what she's thinking. I can tell you right now, she started that tapping. She's like, okay, I've got an agenda here and you're messing with it. I got to roll. So, you know, I can get up and go on if you don't come on, you know. So if we know somebody, we truly know somebody, we know what they're thinking. We know their identity, we know who they are. So there was a question, who do they say I am? Well, they gave the answer, but then we go to verse 15, and he said to them, but who do you say I am? So we're still in the building mode, by the way. Who do you say that I am? Well, you know what? I say that you're the Christ. You're the Son of God. But here's the thing. I'm going to put it on the screen. Everyone sees Jesus as who or what they can make him to be. Some of us just see Jesus as who. In other words, I see Jesus, but I don't want to see him as a servant to him. I want to see him as a servant to me. I want to be able to make him what and who I want him to be. So in other words, he's like your little errand boy. No, yeah, but that's kind of what we're saying. See, these people had this imagination of who he was supposed to be. The people in the region of Caesarea Philippi used the context of what they knew to compare Jesus to who they thought he should be. See, we get all upset about Jesus not doing this, not doing that. We were watching a Dateline thing. Tina and I, if you see us watching something together, it's probably going to be Dateline. Because I'm not going to spend too many valuable minutes with her watching Hallmark, and she's not going to ever get back the time watching a documentary about tornadoes with me. So she's like, how can you watch this? I'm like, because house number 3, I just realized got blown away. I didn't see that the first 2 times I watched it. And did you hear that girl say, Mom and them? You ever notice You just watch the tornado documentaries. Somebody's going to say Mom and them's house. There's going to be Mom and them in there. Mom and them house got blown away. So I mean, I learned stuff. I'm like, man, this is good. And Tina's like, but mine are wholesome. I'm like, mine are too. The whole sum of it blew away. It was gone. So here's the thing. They're trying to figure out who Jesus is. Jesus says, but I need to know who you say that I am. And then there's kind of an awkward, I'm just going to kind of picture it the way I picture it. There's kind of an awkward, I don't know what the right and wrong answer is here, because we just gave you answers and you just kind of rebutted this a little bit. And I don't know what to say here. And then Peter's like, I'll talk. I'll say something. You're the Christ. You're the Son of the living God. So we find out who's in charge. We find out everything we need to know. We're going to get that in just a second. But here's the problem. Everybody has an opinion of who Jesus is according to the opinion that has been put into them. But here's the problem. Statistically, the average person loses 90% of new information within a week. So what that means is if you're a school teacher and you give a test on Friday, by the time next Friday comes around, most kids will fail it again. The ones that passed it. Because we only retain about 90% of information, new information that comes in. We also lose about 75% of training. Everybody who is trained will lose 75% of that training the first week. Now, I'm going to challenge you on something right here. Those of you who have surgery scheduled, they were trained to do that. They will lose 75% of their training in the first week. But let me give you some encouragement. We will retain over 90% of what we experience. You say, hey, Doc, how many knee surgeries have you done? About 1,200. All right, wear it out. Take it apart, put it back together, whatever you do. But the other one, how many have you done? Well, this one and two more make 3. Well, you know what? I don't know if I really want you practicing medicine because that's what's called practicing. So I don't know if I want you practicing medicine on me because I really don't want you to get the knees mixed up. I don't want you to put the wrong prosthetic on there or whatever. I want to be, I don't want to get up the next morning and that one be gone and it was supposed to be in that one. So the thing is we lose a lot of that training. We also only use about 37% of what we learn in school. So as you can see, it is more important for the doctor to be resident and in practice and to learn on the spot, because that way he will experience, she will experience, and she will learn, and he will learn, and he will retain it. But these people, all they had to go on was what they had heard. So they didn't have an experience with Jesus. They didn't see Jesus as being God. They saw him as being one of the guys. So none of them said, who do they say I am? Those people, one of them said, you're the greatest visionary mind, the greatest architect of the greatest movement, the greatest outpouring man in history will ever experience ever. Nobody said that, because that is exactly who he is, by the way. That's exactly who he is. So nobody said, you're a life builder. You build lives. You are a restorer of my soul. That means something that is restored has been brought back better than it was originally. So when God restores our souls, that means he's building us better than what we were. New technology, we're like the $6 million man, and like half of y'all, like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So I just won't speak of that guy anymore. So anyway, you're the restorer of my soul. When Jesus asked what the people said, then they gave a they-say answer. They gave a they-say answer that made sense. You ever notice we so badly want to make sense? So they say that you're one of the guys, that God is really working through. So, it's all compliments. God working through these guys, that's awesome. But Jesus asked the disciples, who do you say? And then Peter speaks up and says, Verse 16, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. You are the architect and the supreme builder of my life. You are the one that is the promised one. You are the Messiah. You are the God with us. I mean, I can go on and on and on, Peter said. He's like, now we've got something we can work with. Notice the difference. The people, the naysayers, they spoke in the natural. Peter spoke in the supernatural, and Jesus just spoke as an architect and a builder. I've got a building plan here, but until I can see some foundation to build upon, I'm still looking. A builder sees the finished product before it's built. So a builder comes in, and you'll say, he's got stakes out on the ground and strings and cornered, it's all cornered off, and you're like, I don't get it. Show me. And so he pulls out his tape measure and he starts showing you. Exactly. There's your living room. And then here's your stairs that'll go up there. And he'll start showing you, because the builder can see the building and the finished product before it's even built. Jesus is a builder. He could see the finished product in us. He could see more than what you and I can see. Because we're too focused on everything that we're doing that's not right. We're too focused on everything that disqualifies us. Jesus asked the disciples, who do you believe him to be? Who do you believe me to be? And this is what Peter said. So builders see what was finished. He sees a foundation. Jesus is like, I've been waiting on this forever, because now I can build upon this. You can build upon what? I can build upon that revelation. This is what I can build upon. Let's just jump in. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Matthew chapter 16, verse 18. I tell you, you are Peter, Petra. The word means rock. And on this rock I will build my church. This is the first mention of the church in the Bible, period. I will build my church, and the gates of hell, they ain't going to come against it, and it will not prevail. It can't be torn down. The first mention of the church, Jesus had this great vision, this massive building project in his mind, this great architectural design. Jesus was going to build a church from the ground up, and you and I are right now thinking of a building. We're thinking of the construction. We're thinking of brick and mortar. We're thinking of concrete. We're thinking of purlins. We're thinking of metal. I mean, we're thinking of all this stuff. And Jesus is like, no, I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about building a church. The church definition for that day was called ones. The church definition today is called ones. It means those that are called. So you see what Jesus is doing? I'm building the greatest movement with the greatest outpouring of all time and forever, and I'm including you in this building process. You are a part of the process. You and I are part of the process. So, what exactly would prompt Jesus at this exact moment to start talking in this narrative instead of something else? Well, it's the foundation. Here's where he sees it and he recognizes it. Here's the foundation I've been looking for. Because I don't know if you know this or not, but if you keep building on the sand, if you keep building on the dirt, if you keep building on the ground, your structure's not going to make it. Now, I'll give you an example. I wanted to pass by a house a few times back. It's been about, I'm going to say probably 7-8 years ago. Called a realtor friend. I'm like, hey, what's the deal with that house? I'd like to see if I could buy it and flip it. And he's like, you don't want that house. I'm like, why? He said, foundation issue. It's messed up. You don't want it. And that's all he said. I'm like, okay, I'm out then. I trust you. You've been in there. You've seen it, whatever. And it was kind of, you could tell it had been walked away from. And I'm thinking, what could have made that work? Well, a couple of years ago, I see this house been completely remodeled. And I'm like, looks pretty good. I mean, they've done a really good job with it. So I make an appointment to go look at it. I'm like, I want to go see what they've done. So I just kind of messaged out and I said, hey, tell the seller that I need access under the floor. He's like, I'll knock off $2,500. You could dig your own access. I'm like, this house, you remodeled this whole house and it's sitting on the ground. It's rotting right now as we speak. You didn't fix that part. You can fix a roof. Do you realize we just replaced a roof again? On another facility, we just replaced a roof. And do you realize that you can do that, but you can't fix a foundation? And Jesus, what prompts him all of a sudden to start speaking of the church? He says, I finally see the foundation. I finally see the rock that I can build upon. It is a revelation. It is a proclamation. It is a word spoken that Peter could be killed for. To call somebody else God in those days was to be a heretic, and you would be put on the cross to die yourself. So in other words, he's signing his own death warrant, but he's like, I'm not denying my God right now. No way. So you and I are a part of the greatest outpouring in history. The greatest building project in history. John chapter 14, verses 2 and 3. In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, I'd have told you. But I'm going to go prepare a place for you. And if I go to prepare a place for you, then I'm going to come again. It means I'm going to come again, and I will take you to myself, that where you may be, where I am, you may be also. So let me show you what Jesus is talking about. We automatically think Jesus, gone to heaven, built, and he's building us a facility. You're right. But it has so much Jewish culture tied into it. See, here's the thing. Jewish culture of the day was when a husband and a wife, when a groom and a bride wanted to get married, the groom this would be arranged most likely by the parents, both sets of parents. He would go to her house and he would take a skin of wine, and he would take some money, because you know what, you've invested money in her, and now you fed her. Now I am basically redeeming her. I'm purchasing her. And so in other words, I'm going to take that burden off of you. That's what Jesus does for you and I. He takes the burden off of us. So then he goes in and he says, okay, I'm going to pour this wine, and if she and I drink of this cup, that means she accepts the invitation or the marriage proposal. And then when we do this, we're legally married. It's called to be betrothed. And Mary and Joseph had this situation. So they were betrothed to one another. And so that's where it only starts. That's only where it starts, not where it ends. He then leaves her, goes away, and we have a culture that says, I'm not going to let you marry some young girl and not provide her a place. You're not going to be there irresponsible. And the father of the bride says, I'm not going to let you come in and marry my daughter and not give her an ample place to dwell. So the one I'm trusting is the father. So when the father says that you have a place that's ready for her, then I'll let her go. So he goes and he builds onto his father's house. So you kind of see how Jesus is spelling this out now. In my Father's house are many rooms. How many sons could he possibly have? We know Jacob had like 12, 13 sons. So you continue to build. You kind of see how it begins to become a mansion. So he's going to build onto this facility, and then it is not finished when the groom says it's finished. It's finished when the groom's father says it's finished. So the father looks upon it and says, I'm not going to disrespect that man and his family down the road until you get it like it's supposed to be. And here's the thing. No one knows the time that he's going to say that it's finished. No one knows the day or the hour except the Father. See what Jesus is saying? He's saying, look, there's so much parallel with Jewish culture. He's saying in the day then that we don't understand now, I'm spelling out the way that you can understand it. We're in a building process, and I am building a facility for everyone. Now, here's the thing. She's just not hanging out trying to figure out what cake and flowers she wants. Her job is to do this, to prepare her garment, her wedding garment or dress, and to get herself ready like the virgins with the lamps and the oil. Her job is to get herself ready and be prepared, because she knows it's going to happen. She's the bride. She knows that it's been spoken that it's going to happen. She knows her fiance doesn't know when it's going to happen, and nobody else knows when it's going to happen. Only the Father knows when it's going to happen, and it happens when He says. Only Him. And when He says it's time, it's finished, it's time to go get your bride, then what He does, He goes to the brides, He blows a shofar, announcing His arrival, announcing that the Father has approved. He goes in and He basically kidnaps her. He violently takes her. It's their culture. He doesn't beat her or anything. He takes her basically like a thief in the night. And this is usually done at the midnight hour. So in other words, no man knows the day or the time, but there's only one job the bride has in the building process, and that's to be prepared. It's the only job she has. You and I are the bride of Christ. We have one job, and that is to be prepared. So you say, what does it mean for Jesus to be a builder? That means He's building for you and I a room, a mansion with many rooms. And it's attached to the Father's house. So let me just explain that one to you. You and I think we're going to get a mansion in heaven that's on a hill by ourselves, up on a ridge to where the wind never blows and all the brooks run around it, and we can have our Highland cows and everything. And everybody's going to look at our place and say, oh, it's wonderful. No, it is built and attached to the Father's house. You and I are living with the Father. Our mansion, our room within the mansion is attached to the Father, and the groom is going to come and he's going to blow that shofar, and when he does, it's going to be at a midnight hour when you and I are least going to expect it. People are going to be partying, and the streets are going to be full, and the gate is going to be narrow. And you know what? Only a few are going to make it according to the Word. Only the ones that are going to be prepared are going to make it. So, how important is it for you and I to have a builder's mindset? Very important. We need to understand the building process and be prepared to move in when time comes. Mic drop. I can't say more right there. So, here's the thing. I'm going to land the plane. Matthew chapter 7, verse 24. He says, everyone who hears these words of mine and does them, I will be likewise a man who built his house on the rock. If you hear these words, Jesus is saying, hear these words, be prepared, be building mindset focused, because your groom is a builder. He's building in you something that you don't understand. He's coming for you, and when He comes, you better be ready. Your job is to be ready. So this is what He's saying. Each one of us is in this house, watching online, watching next week, a year from now, you are a builder. You are in the building process. Jesus is wanting a foundation. That's all He's watching for, is a foundation. The foundation is the most important aspect of any building. The tallest building in the world is in Dubai. It's 2,717 feet tall. That's over a half a mile. It's over a half a mile tall. The foundation alone is 164 feet deep. And then the pylons even go into the bedrock deeper than that. It took a year and a half just to build the foundation before they ever saw the first brick laid or first metal, iron welded. I don't know how they built it. But it couldn't go up until it went deep first. So we need to remember this. If we're going to build up, we got to build deep first. That's the only way it's going to work. God is waiting for you and I to show Him there's a foundation that I can build upon. Sometimes we're sitting here and we're so confused. Had somebody tell me one time, I can't stand myself. I don't like myself as a husband. I don't like myself as a wife or spouse. I don't enjoy anything about my life. I'm just miserable. It's because you don't have an identity. You are called to be a child of the King, and you don't have an identity. You need the Lord, and I'm sorry, I can't say any different. You need a relationship with Him, because you know what? You don't have an identity. And when we don't have an identity, you know who Jesus is to us? Some of those prophet people. Some of those Old Testament people. somebody who did miracles one time, somebody who works in somebody else's life. That's who Jesus is. But when we have an identity in Christ, that's the foundation that he can build upon. He's like, now we're going somewhere. I'll build upon that. But until then, he's not going to. He's not going to waste his time building something that's going to fall down. You and I are spending it. We're so frustrated. Life is just driving us crazy. And I'm so frustrated. I can't figure this one out. I can't figure that out. It's because I keep building and it keeps falling down. Do you realize how frustrating that is? I don't care how patient you are. You build it, it falls down. Just going to build it right back. Build it, it falls down. Just going to build it right back. Build it, it falls down. Then I'm fixing to go off on somebody. I'm fixing to start throwing stuff, everything. We get so frustrated because we don't like to do things over. But Jesus is like, I'm the rock. I'm your foundation. And when you get that in your head, I will build something it will blow your mind. And he says, look, I'm writing it on your heart in stone. So every time you read it, you can run with it. Habakkuk chapter 2. He's like, I am that person for you. You just got to receive me and accept me. We're running away from him because we're so sold out on the fact that I have to do this by myself. And that is so not. It's so antichrist. I'll do it myself. I don't need any help. Everyone who hears these words of mine and does them is like a man who built his house on the rock. And the waves came and the storms came. Because you know what? Jesus didn't say they might come. Jesus didn't say that, hey, just in case it ever did come a storm. I think there's that Nick Saban themes, like, do you want, it's like the house that the contractor builds on the coast. Do you want the 130 mile an hour windows? You want the 150 mile an hour windows? Or do you want the 190 mile an hour windows? I'm going to take the 190 because I don't want my house blowing away. I'm going to build upon the rock because I don't want my house blown away because, the storms are going to come. You're going to go, I really didn't want a storm. Sorry. I'm sorry. You and I are not exempt from the storms. But I know what we do have. We have a foundation that we can build on that's more powerful than the storm. So that's it right there. So let me invite you to do something with me. Stand with me, please. Jesus said, hear. He said, then act upon what you hear and do. But do wisely and build. And build according to what you've heard and according to what Christ wants you to do. You're like, well, that ain't hard. It's not. Salvation's never hard. It's just we make it hard because we put a lot of pride. We mix pride into it. So I want to ask you, do you know Jesus? Do you have a relationship with him? Do you serve him? Do you walk with him? Can you say, I know him? If I say, who do you say Jesus is? If you say, he is I am changed because of him. I'm a different person because of him. My sins are forgiven because of him. You're talking about yourself. Who do you say he is? Oh, he's God. He's the one that forgave my sins and forgives everybody else's. Wow. Yeah, let's get that one straight. So I want you to be able to say that with your heads bowed and your eyes closed. I'm going to ask you to pray a prayer. Please pray it out loud with me. Please pray it. And this is where we seek the Lord. We hunger for his righteousness. We ask him into our heart. This is where changes are made. This is the prayer that forgives us of our sins. It's the one thing that we can bring. We're the bride bringing our preparedness. This is all we're doing right now. Let's bring it before him. Let's pray it out loud. Everybody's going to help everybody. So if you haven't ever prayed a prayer, you can do it out loud because everybody's doing it together. Hey, let's pray it and I'll lead you. Dear Jesus, I invite you into my heart to be my Lord and Savior. Please forgive me of my sins. I invite you to build in me a life, a powerful life a servanthood life. Build in me someone that people can say, he's been walking with Jesus. She's been walking with Jesus. Build in me a child of the King. And I thank you. I've just asked you into my heart. You have forgiven my sins. And I am the whosoever that is called on the name of the Lord. In your name I pray. Amen.